We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. Zac Oswald's with us, attorney with the Legal Aid Society. We're taking your phone calls and talking about tenants' legal rights, what's going on with regard to the marketplace and evictions as they happen, as costs accelerate so much at apartments where to the point people can't afford them. And what happens if they're told they have to leave, and where do they live, and what are the legal rights on both sides of this? Zac, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate you being here. We have another caller that waited through the break. I think it is it Danny? Are you there, Danny?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so the question I have is, are the rental rights different for the different counties, or is it just a statewide thing? That's one question. I was in a contract, and now I'm month to month, and the landlord, the management company, is telling me the owner of the house is stating it's required for me to be on a lease, but there's nothing listed in the last lease stating that. I think it's more of a verbal thing. And they sent me a text message, not anything via email or mailing anything to me, telling me that this is what they wanted to do.
I'll let him answer your question. I'm just curious. So your preference, because of the way you're living right now, you'd rather have month to month as opposed to signing a longer lease?
If possible, yes, because I've been doing month to month since November of last year. That's when I was supposed to renew my lease. And I've been doing month to month since then, so for about 6, almost 7 months. And now this has just come up.
Yeah, I'm just curious, why do you want to go month to month? Because don't you pay a little less per month if you commit to a longer lease?
According to the lease, the last lease I signed with him, it was $1,350 being on a contract with him, and now it's $1,400 month to month. And if I renew my contract, the pricing isn't changing.
Okay.
The reason I started doing month to month is my mother and I are trying to move closer together or move in together because of the way rent is right now, and it would be easier for us if we were living close together or in the same home. That's why I started doing month to month.
Gotcha.
As well, and she's doing month to month in her city as well, so I don't really want to have to break a commitment if I don't have to.
Right, that makes good sense. That gives you more flexibility. I was just curious. Now, let's let Zac try to answer your question on that. What do you think, Zac, since it wasn't written in and now they want to force her to sign a longer-term lease?
Yeah, so she actually hit two different questions there that I'd like to answer. And the first was, are the laws different depending on which county you live in? And the answer to that is yes. We have two sets of landlord-tenant laws in Tennessee. One that applies if you are in 17 counties in Tennessee that have populations of 75,000 or more people in it as of the 2010 census. And so if you're listening today from Putnam or Greene County, you go, oh, we're over 75,000. You guys are actually cut out from what we would normally call as the Uniform Residential Landlord Tenant Act. That's just applying to 17 counties that had 75,000 people in 2010. The rest of the counties in Tennessee are what we call non-URALTA. And what that really means is that there are only 4 laws that apply to you as tenants in non-URALTA counties. One tells you how long the notice is before your landlord can kick you out. It tells you that you can be criminally charged if you falsify having assistance animals. And then 2 domestic violence protections that can either allow you to kick your abuser out or end your lease if you are a victim of domestic violence. So that's the answer to Danny's first question is, yes, the laws are different depending on what county you live in Tennessee. And if you want to know specifically whether or not you're under one set of laws or the other, you can go to the materials on our website, www.las.org, and look for housing brochures, and it'll tell you, hey, this is the brochure that applies to URALTA counties, the large counties, and this is the brochure that applies to those non-URALTA counties. The second question was, is a lease required? That is going to be something that is up to the particular property management company, that they can say, hey, we only want to have term leases here. There's no requirement on the landlord to allow tenants to go into month to month. So it's one of these things where you're beholden to the landlord again. If the landlord wants every tenant to have a lease that lasts for a term, then the landlord can do that, and the tenant's kind of at the landlord's mercy. What I would suggest to Danny in this situation is to see if she can maybe shorten the term instead of going into a lease for a year. Can she talk to her landlord about maybe a 6-month lease or a 3-month lease? That way she can accomplish what her goals are, because her goals are genuine and they're realistic. She wants to get closer to her mother. It sounds like maybe they need to move in together at some point to be able to withstand the rising cost of rent.
Good advice. I hope that helps you there, Danny. Let's go next to Carmen. Carmen, good morning. Hi, Carmen.
Hi.
Hi, what can we do for you?
I have a question, a legal question. I live in a townhome in the gated community, and we pay HOA fees. And the HOA management, they didn't answer our emails, and the only thing what they do, they just trim the yard, and that's it. We were told when we signed the contract that they will take care of washer pressure of our townhomes, or the front yard, or the backyard, and it's a long list, and they don't accomplish any of this. And basically, I'm living in this townhome for 4 years, and I haven't seen anything, and I haven't heard anything from them. They, like I said, they don't take our phone calls. They don't do what they promised when we signed the contract, when we purchased those new townhomes.
Okay, and so the person you're contacting, are you calling the homeowners association board? I assume there's a board for that neighborhood, or are you calling the person that's supposed to be doing the work?
We're calling the one that is on the board.
On the board, and they're not receptive to you?
No. What we can do on this case?
All right, I don't know. What do you do in that case if you've got a deadbeat board? I assume they live there too, so what the heck's with this board? I mean, the whole idea of having a board is it's made up of the homeowners association residents, and they're usually supposed to be very, very engaged because they all live there. I mean, that's just bizarre.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation. Nick, you hit it on the head. My first comment would be, let's go talk to the board about this. Surely they want their community to look as good as possible. And that's, in theory, that's the reason why they ran to be on the board of their HOA, is so that they could make their community better, so that they could help enforce these rules, and that they could put the property management company and their vendors to task if they weren't accomplishing what was there. It sounds to me, if Carmen's described it correctly, there's a vendor out there with a contract to mow the yard, to do pressure washing, and to keep the property clean, and they're not doing it. That's just a simple breach of contract issue. The situation there is whether or not Carmen wants to bring that as an individual, or if she wants to try and bring that on behalf of all of the homeowners who aren't getting what they're paying for with their HOA fees.
I'm just speaking for myself, not Carmen here. But if I'm in Carmen's shoes, aside from maybe getting legal representation, you know what I'm doing? You know how I'm going to get their attention? I'm stopping paying my homeowners association fee. Just not going to pay it. And then I'll get a notice from them, where's your payment? And then I'll say, oh, you got back to me. I got a question for you. And document the fact that they haven't done anything that was outlined in the contract. Just don't pay it. If I do that, what happens, Zach?
Nick, as your attorney, I'm going to advise you to be very careful with that.
What are they going to do? Evict me? They're going to evict me? Are they going to evict me? How are they going to do that?
So HOA debts, they're kind of like super debts. The HOA can actually go ahead and put a lien on your property for not paying fees without taking you to court. And so it's one of those things where if you don't pay your HOA debt, you're actually in a worse position than if you're somebody who didn't pay your credit card debt. A credit card company would have to sue you first. Your HOA can actually just go ahead and put a lien against your home without filing that lawsuit.
Okay, well, good. I'm glad you said it. By the way, I just want to ask you this now. I was going to get to this. As far as putting a lien on that home, that means they're going to try to sell. Let's just say, I don't know it's going to get this far and get ugly. Let's just say, to heck with you, I'm not going. You know how long it takes to finally send a sheriff out to evict you? I mean, we're talking not months, potentially years. I'm not going anywhere. What are you going to do about it?
In an HOA situation, you're probably not wrong. That's an HOA is probably going to put a lien against your house. They're just going to wait until you sell it or until you die. Quite frankly, they're not gonna force the sale of your house. They just want to get paid. You know, the eviction situation for a renter, which is what we've been talking about most of the day, is a lot quicker. But Nick, I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. If you want to be the stubborn HOA member, there are some ways that you can try and angst your way into a solution there.
Yeah, okay. And listen, I appreciate your legal. I'm not saying for sure, based on what you said, I would do that. But my point being is, I'm not trying to get out of paying the HOA. I'm trying to get them to do what was contractually obligated, and they're not returning my calls. I can tell you one way to get someone's attention is to stop paying. Okay, now, if they're going to, instead of say, why did you stop pay, and just throw a lien on my house, well, frankly, I probably want to move out of that dump anyway. But on the other side of it, maybe they get back in touch and say, look, I just stopped paying because you haven't cut the hedges, done the lawns, and it's all in the contract here. Look, I'm ready to pay. I'll pay any back amount. Let's do what you agreed to under the written contract. That's just my point. But maybe people aren't rational anymore. I don't know.
People aren't rational. I think what I'm hearing from Carmen is that she needs to get her poster board ready. Carmen for board president.
Yeah. Gotcha. Listen, we'll take a quick break. I appreciate that. Carmen, just be careful how you handle it, but I understand where you're coming from. They should follow through with what was contractually agreed to. The number 737-7587, Vera and others, stay where you are. We will get back with Zac right after this.